Hi guys, so the role of the Speaker of the House, it seems, is to protect the government from scrutiny. So how do you scrutinise the government? So a member of Parliament stands up, asks a question of a government minister or the Prime Minister, and that minister, or the Prime Minister Boris Johnson in this case, is obliged to answer the question. But in reality, what happens is a member of Parliament stands up, asks a question, and a government minister or Boris Johnson ignores the question, starts talking about something else, uses the moment to grandstand on some government policy that's either related or unrelated to that question. They use the moment to promote a local election candidate, or they make a snide remark and sit back down again. Now, you would imagine, well, they can't do that because they would be breaking the rules of the House of Commons. Well, they are not. And the Speaker of the House generally does not intervene and make sure that the question was asked. So how do you scrutinise the government? And how do you call out a liar? So if Boris Johnson tells a lie, what are you supposed to do about it? So let's hear what the Speaker of the House had to say about that.
I called Jonathan Ashworth to ask his urgent question. I want to remind the House that Erskine May states that good temper and moderation are the characteristics of the parliamentary language. While the context in which particular phrase is used is important, Erskine May also says that there are certain expressions which, when used in respect of other members, are regarded with particular seriousness, generally leading to prompt intervention from the Chair and often requires on the member to withdraw the words. One example is making a charge of uttering a deliberate falsehood. In other words, members should not accuse other members of lying. Depending on the context, it may well be in order to quote the views of others, but members should not themselves state or imply that other members are lying.
Okay, so what he's saying here is that you can't call Boris Johnson a liar. But what you can do is you can quote something Boris Johnson said in the past and compare it to the reality, or you can compare it to something that he said in the present. But the problem with this is that Parliament is supposed to work for the people. But the public don't have the time to watch these proceedings. The public don't have the time to go back and check what Boris Johnson said in the past. The public assume that that what happens in Parliament is true. They actually believe, the public believe that Boris Johnson does not lie in Parliament. Now, they believe that many people believe that Boris Johnson is a liar. They know that. They assume that when he's outside Parliament, he lies. But when he's in Parliament, he doesn't lie because there are mechanisms or rules that have to be followed. The public don't know that that's not the case, that you are free to lie in the House of Commons. Now, you are obliged, you are requested that if you make a mistake, you return to the House of Commons and you correct the record, because everything is recorded, which is a wonderful thing. There is a House of Commons website, and they have every statement by every member of Parliament recorded there. You can view them yourself, which is a wonderful thing. So if a minister or even a member of Parliament makes a mistake, because they're human, they make mistakes, they're obliged to return to the House of Commons to correct the record. For example, Keir Starmer did it recently. He made a mistake. He made a statement in the House of Commons which was false, and he returned to the House of Commons to correct the record. Now, Boris Johnson generally doesn't do that. I don't want to say he never does it, but I'm not familiar with any times when he has actually corrected the record. He probably has, but generally he doesn't do that. But he's not punished. If you're not punished if you don't correct the record, you are punished if you say that somebody has lied. Now, back to the original problem. If you ask a minister a question, they don't answer the question, they ignore the question, they use it to grandstand, they lie, how are you supposed to scrutinise them?
There are ways in such issues can be debated in the House by means of a substantive motion, but not part of an urgent question.
So you can call a motion to deal with a lie. But if you do that, Boris Johnson knows, and his ministers know, that Parliament would grind to a halt. Because if you had to call a motion every time Boris Johnson tells a lie, you'd never get anything done. And it would come across to the public that Parliament is doing nothing. Parliament is just talking all the time. They're not actually passing any legislation. Because that's the job of Parliament. The job of Parliament is not to call out liars. It's to get work done. It's to pass laws. But if it's continually trying to correct the record or force members of Parliament to correct the record, then it becomes a shambles and a failure. And it's important to remember, excuse me, it's important to remember that there's trust between citizens and Parliament. And unfortunately, the public, as I said before on numerous occasions, the public don't know that you're allowed to lie in the House of Commons. They think, well, yes, we know that Boris Johnson, Matt Hancock are liars, but when they're in the House of Commons, they don't lie because there are rules. No, there are not. So in order to deal with liars, your only mechanisms, it seems, is to quote something they said in the past, compare it with the present, or compare it with a quote from the present. Now, some MPs have gotten round the rules, such as Ian Blackford, who asked the question, "Are you lying, Prime Minister?" which was not very well received by the Speaker of the House, it seems, because he understood that this MP, Ian Blackford, was getting around the question, around the issue, around the rule. But what is the alternative? Which is more important? That that rules are followed in Parliament, or that Parliament does its job? The job of Parliament, the job of MPs in the opposition, is to hold the government to account. If they're not able to hold the government to account by strictly following the rules of Parliament, then what is the role of Parliament? And also, what is the role of the Speaker of the House? Let me know in the comment section what you think, guys. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. But I want to reinforce this issue as well, that I'm not attacking the Speaker of the House directly here. I understand that the Speaker of the House is limited in what he or she can do. But I think there is huge scope for allowing, or pressuring at least, the minister to answer the question. You know, as I said on numerous occasions, ask Boris Johnson, would you like to have another go? You're not demanding that he answer the question. You're suggesting that maybe the question was not answered. Surely that is within the scope of the Speaker of the House. I'm sorry, Prime Minister, we didn't hear it. Your microphone wasn't working. Would you like to have another go? I don't know. Something like this. It is quite sad that we don't have John Bercow, who seemed to be more on the ball here. Seemed to be someone who cared more about scrutiny than perhaps the rules. Let me know in the comment section. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated, guys. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?